Welcome, incredible agents from across the U.S. Today is March 16th, 2017, and this is Mastermind call number 117. And we have three of the four partners on the call today. One of our partners, Tim, will not be here, but Tom and Chad are joining me. Chad, anything you want to, we don't want to hear about your vacation highlights, but anything from a coaching perspective you'd like to share with the group?
Yeah, just a reminder, guys, March Probate Mastery is scheduled for this upcoming week, the 20th, 22nd, and 24th. You should have seen an email yesterday announcing that. You'll see another one tomorrow. So if you're interested in joining us for Mastery, you can learn more by finding that email or on alltheleads.com. If you go to the system, the probate system, under education and training, there's kind of a video and a course outline that will help you understand what that is. But get signed up, and we will start the live sessions on Monday. And we do each day, 2 p.m., and we usually allocate 2 hours. Depends on the group and how interactive, everybody is. But they'll run anywhere from an hour to 2 hours each session. So.
Excellent. And I've shared this before, if it's a bit of a rerun for you long-timers. I get asked a lot, do I need to take Probate Mastery? And you don't have to get started. I mean, essentially, these executors, your PRs you're reaching out to, are just basically usually absentee motivated owners. And their attorney handles all the legal aspects of the probate. If you are going to prospect attorneys, Probate Mastery is a must. And we've looked at our data, guys. The agents that take the Probate Mastery are 3 times more likely to still be in the program a year later. So kind of interesting, a lot of extra knowledge, really imparts confidence to people, and I think it makes them more successful and it makes them stay around longer. So we recommend it for everybody, but it's nothing you have to get started. But if you've been with the program, for a month or 2 or 3 and you're starting to get your feet wet, and whether you're having a little success or none, it'd be a really good place to gain that extra level of confidence. So we highly, highly recommend it for everyone.
And just a reminder, we usually always have at least one Mastery alumni in the group. So if anybody's on here that has taken Mastery before and you want to get in the group, just send me an email, chad@alltheleads.com, and I'll register you for the session. It's cool to have those folks in there because people who have taken Mastery, gone out, applied what they learned, and then they can bring more back to the group of, well, here's what I'm seeing on the phones and yada, yada. So we try to give as much value as possible. I mean, most of the content comes from my experience in working in my business and helping many others, but a lot of times we have other people who have taken the course that also come back and contribute. So
yeah, that's a great
if there's
point.
anybody on that wants to join us, you're welcome.
That's a great point, Chad. We've had people that asked, should I go back and listen to all the Mastermind calls? And we had a guy started with number 1. I said, it's going to take you 6 months to listen to them all, but start with number 117 and work your way backwards, because we've learned a heck of a lot over the last 4 years. It's the same thing with Mastery. I think you'd be the first to admit the Mastery classes you're doing now are so much better than the original ones. You've learned a lot from doing this, and you've learned a lot from the agents. And yeah, once you take it, you can go back and take it every month if you want to, and we'd encourage you to do that because it just keeps getting better every time. Yeah. Excellent. Tom, anything from a customer service perspective that you want to share with the group this week?
Nothing specific, Jim, but just let everyone know if they need anything, please send us an email to support@alltheleads.com, and we track those items, and we'll get a response back to you as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I got to rerun that also. We have 4 partners, and I think we have about 6 employees now. The best way to get help with anything, you guys are always welcome to call me, but I'm always on the phone. Send an email to support@alltheleads and be as specific as possible about what you need help with. We all read that, and it'll allow the best person to call you back very quickly. I promise if it's a technology issue, it won't be me returning your call. So, And now I still, with our new phone system, if you're calling the 1-800-LEAD-FOX, don't just automatically push 1 for me. Listen to the prompts and push 2 for customer service. If you need to talk to somebody, somebody is available, but just hit the right prompt, and it's the quickest way to get help with anything you need, efficiently and quickly. So, all right, well, we have one person in the queue. Hopefully they have a 20-minute question for us. If not, guys, we've got well over 100 people on this call. Please, we want participation. There's no bad questions. Anything is open. We've got a second person. Thank you very much, one of our exit people. Hit *6 and hit 1, and you'll be in the queue. And let's go to the first person. Phone number ending in 2835. You're up.
Hey, is this Jim?
This is he.
David Coles in Pittsburgh.
Hey, David, how are you, sir?
Good. How are you?
Wonderful.
Hey, listen, I'm glad you spoke about call reluctance, because that was brutal. My first week took me a week to get up the gumption. I had every excuse in the world. Had to work through that. Maybe you might want to speak to that a little more. I'm sure it'll hit me again. And then I have a question about when I did get a good person on there. They've already got they had been contacted by other people trying to just buy their house, but they wanted to really lowball them. So they ended up in a contract with a realtor. Is there anything to do there? I did ask if he would take substantially less than what his asking price was, and the answer was yes. So, yeah. Can you speak to that?
Yeah, and I'm going to just a few comments, and I'll let Chad expand on it. In most markets, in a large percentage of markets, our agents tell us they're the only one calling because the phone numbers aren't readily available. If you have any competition at all, it is usually the aggressive investor, and it's pretty easy to compete with them by just saying, hey, I can do the same thing. I've got an investor, but I can do so much more for you. If you're in a hyper-competitive market, there may be other people that are calling, so you just got to don't be reluctant. Get on the phone as soon as you get the leads. And I'll let Chad expand on that, and then Chad, maybe touch a bit on call reluctance. And before we do that, Dave, I just have a quick question for you. The conversations you're having, are you getting a good response from the people, or is it giving you more confidence to overcome that reluctance, or not?
Well, yes. Yes. It's hard to get people on the phone, and I'm just going a call. So I say it's hard to get people on the phone. There's about a 15% like you get through to somebody. And those people are, they're nice to you. They're not like, oh, God, where did you get my number, and that sort of thing. So it does make it a lot better in my brain, between my ears, to pick up the phone and pick up the program.
Excellent. And then Chad, about 4 questions for you to answer, but maybe touch on that university study on the best time to call for Dave also.
Okay. Yeah, so there's an MIT study, and it's part of step 3 of Probate Fast Track. In a nutshell, your call blocks, my suggested call blocks for you would be Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday from 8 a.m. to 10 a.m. and 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Gotcha.
And possibly a Saturday call block, but you're about 160% more likely to make contact with a prospect when you call during those times. And that was proven out by an MIT study of, I think, 86,000 real estate calls. So it was done within our industry. So you might consider...
Again, that was... Can you hear me?
Yeah, it was 8 a.m. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday.
Yeah.
8 a.m. to 10 a.m., 4 p.m. to 6 p.m.
Got it.
And I just got off the phone with another subscriber who's in a hyper-competitive market, probably the most competitive investor market in the country. And he and I just had a great conversation. I recommended to him, like, if you know you have that competition, then you need to find a way to use that to your advantage. And I know that may sound ass backwards, but I recommended a book to him. It's Ryan Holiday wrote a book called The Obstacle is the Way. And the gist of that book is taking your biggest obstacle and turning it into momentum for you. So when you know somebody has 30 letters on the coffee table, put that right out there out front. You know what? I know you're getting a ton of phone calls. I know you got a lot of mail. And that's one of the main reasons I'm calling, because the big difference is we can bring you cash offers, but we have a fiduciary responsibility to look out for you and make sure you get the most money. And a lot of that mail is probably from my clients because they're savvy investors. So in this case, I would represent you, not them, because they don't need representation. I can protect you in the transaction. And the same way with phone calls. I know you're getting a ton of calls. Find a way to say, give me 30 seconds, or just be direct and just show them how you're different, and use that competition to your advantage. And that's going to be different for all of us, how we do that, depending on our market and the actual competition, and whether it's from agents or investors. But try to just, try to look at it from a different angle if you're hitting walls, and say, how do I use this to my advantage? And so anyways.
And Dave, congratulations on picking up the phone. the most consistent theme we hear is call reluctance with agents, and they think it's going to be harder than other lead sources because somebody just died. And what I always say, hey, it's 3 to 4 months from the date of death. When they file that probate, they're past the grieving enough that they've made a business decision that they need to deal with the situation. So usually when you actually start making the calls, you find it to be just the opposite, that they're a lot less harassed by agents and they're a lot more open for help. So,
as somebody I come from the insurance industry, and this phone work is 100 times better. It's easier. It's much nicer. Hey, I want to shift gears real quick, and before I lose you, and ask, in some of the what I consider to be not worse neighborhoods, not of Pittsburgh, the declining suburbs. The declining suburbs. I want to emphasize the declining. There are a lot of houses. Do you think there's money to be made there?
You're getting a lot of probates there, Dave?
Probates and just seeing that there's a lot of people getting rid of their houses in clumps, in certain clumps.
Okay. And the one comment I would have, if you're getting a probate there, it probably has equity, because the heirs wouldn't have spent $5,000 to go file the probate if they didn't have sufficient equity. So you tend to not get short sale probates. Occasionally there's exceptions, but for the most part, if they didn't have equity, they wouldn't be filing the probate. And Chad, you want to comment on a more general perspective, if you think that's worth pursuing?
I think you should definitely put a bunch of landlords on your buyers list. That's an ideal area for rental properties. So if you don't have landlords on your list, you should go to your local REI meeting, the Real Estate Investors Association meeting, and find out who are the low income landlords. Another quick way to do that is to go to your local HUD office and ask who has the most Section 8 certificates, like who's the landlord that's accepting the most Section 8 certificates. Another way is to just go pull tax records. You can go to your title company or to the courthouse and see who has the most properties on record and get to know those folks, because they will typically snatch those up from you. So you can bring cash offers to that neighborhood, and you can do it for a flat fee listing, not a percentage. So a lot of people will shy away from a $25,000 listing. That's the easiest house in the world to sell. I sold 58 last fall, and I never stepped foot in a single house. And I sold 58 cash deal, no contingencies, and the most expensive one I think was $45,000, and just in Roanoke, Virginia. But you can charge a flat fee of, say, I charge $2,000 if the price is below $50,000. So as a percentage, it's a huge commission. And then you can leave your buyer unrepresented. So there's great opportunities in those low-income housing neighborhoods because there's a high motivation to sell and a very high motivation to buy from people with cash.
Excellent. Thank you.
You good, Dave?
I'm good. I'm pumped. Thanks.
You got thank you, sir. Great way to get the call started, and we have 3 more people in the queue, so thank you. Next up is phone number ending in 3908. You're up.
Hey guys, this is Sam out of Richmond, Virginia with Exit First. How are you?
Hi, Sam. Wonderful. Thank you for participating.
Good. I just wanted to share a couple of success stories that we've had over the last few weeks.
All right. Thank you.
It seems like we've been getting leads from you guys since December of last year. So the November probates were our first leads, and we've gotten 2 listings so far, and I have 3 more listing appointments this week. And a lot of these are people who came from that original batch of leads. So at least both of the listings and 2 of the appointments are from November and December when we got the leads. So follow-up really is the key. I've been calling them. I've been sending letters. And once I finally got a hold of them, it was like, okay, yeah, we're ready. Come list us pretty much. One lady was saying that she had gotten letters from at least 7 different agents, but I was the only one that had called her. And so we got an appointment with her tomorrow. So just good stuff. It's finally starting to roll in, which is good. After all the months of hitting the phones more than anything. So
thank you so much for sharing that. We've got an agent in Southern California. It reminds me of Bill Bird. He didn't get anything for 4 months, and then the 5th month he did 9 deals. And he said I've got a pond in my front yard. Every time I make a call or send a letter, it's like I'm stocking the pond, and I know eventually when I cast my line in there, I'm going to get a bite. So. Good for you for sticking with it, because we do have agents that, hit the jackpot and do 3, 4, 5 deals their first month, but your experience is more typical. There's a seasoning process with these leads, and if you keep working them, you're going to get results. I know Chad's going to want a testimonial from you. Chad, you have a comment?
Yeah, I actually just told a story earlier that was it was similar, but not quite as good. So we had the toughest market that I've seen. We had a subscriber who was a tenacious prospector, and after 3 months of hitting walls, just hung it up. And about 3 weeks ago, he called back and had listed 6 houses off of those original lists. So don't give up too soon. I mean, there's a million variables to this. In this situation for all these folks. And sometimes the older leads, the more seasoned leads can be the most valuable because they've finally gotten to a point where they're emotionally ready to deal with it, or the house is cleaned out or whatever. And the fortune is in the follow-up. And the more times you can touch them, the better off you will be. And he was in the most competitive market. I kind of just chalked that one up as well as this doesn't work there until he called back and signed back up. And had made a great return. It just took a while to do that, and we have people do that all the time. I think he came back with 6 listings off of that 3 months worth of leads that he had gotten, and then signed back up. So if the best lead sources in the world, excluding personal referrals, but typical leads are going to have about a 2% conversion rate, and that's true of almost any lead type with a good agent. If you're lucky, I was extremely fortunate. I had about a 6% conversion rate in my market, but even at 2%, don't focus on the 98% that say no or don't call back. Just remember, even the best leads in the world, there's only 2 in 100 that you're going to cash checks on. So just keep your head up and find those 2%.
Yeah, and especially, we've talked about this before, especially here in Virginia. Probate's a different kind of thing. There's not always real estate. It's a little bit harder. So a lot of times it takes 3 or 4 touches with these people before I can even find out if there's anything I can help them with or what's going on. And Like one of them that we went on an appointment with yesterday, they owe too much on the house. It's kind of crazy, but so we might not get the probate house, but he was like, well, I'm going to sell my house within the next year, so we'll probably get that listing. So it ends up working out. It's just a matter of really powering through.
That's awesome. Thanks so much for sharing those experiences. I do want to go back to the probate house that doesn't have equity. Did you offer them any alternatives?
Yeah, I wasn't. I'm an ISA for Mark, and he's actually the agent that goes out there. I know he did offer them alternatives. I don't know what specifically he did, but because basically I set up the appointments and then he goes out there and tries to knock them out. But he's been in real estate for 30 plus years, so I'm sure he did offer them alternatives. So it's awesome that
you impressed them enough to already uncover that other opportunity. But you or him, if you haven't suggested it, one of the options would be helping them transition that to a rental property. And if you don't manage property, get them over to someone you trust that does to take care of them and just reinforce that relationship. The other option would be facilitating a short sale, in which case I would use a third party. Jim's wife, Pam, has done over 2,000 short sales, and they do 100% of the work. All you do is the part you like, the listing and marketing, and Pam pretty much handles everything else. So you can actually do a short sale without spending 9,000 hours on it. That most agents shy away from those. You can put it in the hands of an expert, let her handle that, and provide value even on a house that most people would walk away from. So just consider all those options when you hear stuff like that, and it's just going to help you get that other listing even more.
Right.
Thank you so much. Anything else?
Nope, that's it. Thanks so much.
Really, really appreciate the the kind words, the success, and I'm sure you inspired people on the call. So thank you, guys. We have
great job.
Yeah, excellent. We have 3 more people in the queue, so we're going to probably go into a second half hour today. We're going to get to everybody. Next up in the queue is phone number ending in 1949. You're up.
Yeah. Hello, everybody. My name is Wally Malish, and I'm located in Orange County, California. And I've been using all the leads now, I think, for, about a year and a half or so. Great system, and I love the success stories. I'll share one real quick one, and then I'll go into my question. So I do leave messages. That came up on a call a while back, so just so everybody knows, I leave messages, and my messages, hi, I'm calling for so-and-so. My name is Wally. I'm calling regarding such and such an estate. Would appreciate a call back, and my phone number is, and that's all I leave on the message. No, I'm a real estate agent, none of that. Just please call me back. So I get a call back from a gentleman, and the guy calls me back and says, hi, my name is Alan. I'm calling you, called regarding my father's estate. And I go, yeah, hi, my name is Wally, and I'm a local real estate agent, and I was calling regarding the property. And he goes, yeah, as a matter of fact, we want to sell it. What are you doing tomorrow afternoon? And I told him, and he said, great, I'll be at the property. He was from out of the area coming into town. Anyway, I go meet him at the house. We introduce ourselves. I do a quick tour of the house. We sit down at the dining room table, and I said, so do you have any questions before we get started? And he goes, well, yeah. He said, I had a chance to check you out online. I went into your website, and we do have a fairly robust section on our website about probates. And he says, yeah, I just have one question for you. Did you bring a contract? I'd like to list the house with you. I was in and out of the house in 20 minutes with a signed contract, sold it in 3 days, and it's closing in a week and a half. And we sold it for 4% over list price. It had 6 offers on the property.
Wow, that is awesome. Wally, you remind me when I go ahead, Chad. Sorry.
I was just going to say that's almost every one of my probate stories is almost that exact same scenario. People, oftentimes they're so direct. I'm like, I'm sorry, have we talked before? And they're like, no, I got your letter. I've checked you out online. When can you come sign? Like, what do we need to sign? And it's unbelievable. But that's awesome. That's so consistent with what I've seen too. So thank you,
Wally,
Wally.
when I had this idea 4 years ago, and I tested in South Florida, my very first deal was a guy in Dade County, Florida, and he had, he had gotten a bunch of letters. I was the only one that called him. I followed up with him 3, 4, 5 times. It wasn't the first time contact, but he called me back one day and said, "I got good news and I got bad news." He said, "The good news is we want to meet with you today, and the bad news is you're stuck with us. We want you to sell our property." I said, in 35 years in the business, I don't, other than if it was my sister or brother or something, I don't ever remember going on a listing appointment and being 100% sure that I was going to get it. They rarely tell you that on the phone. So those are fun. Those are fun. Boy, talk about no pressure listings. That's awesome.
Yep.
Yeah, and a side note to that property, the guy had 6 more properties, 2 in Broward, 1 was in Virginia that I referred to Chad, and there was a couple others, and then were in other states. So I ended up doing 3 referrals and 3 deals from my first deal. I said, "Boy, this is easy." they're not all like that, believe me, but it is a nice bonus when you get one like that. So thank you so much for sharing. It's great to hear from you. And then you had a question also, correct?
Yes, I did. So my question kind of is a follow-on to the previous caller, and that is with follow-ups. I go through my calls, and obviously, yeah. Can you hear me?
We lost him.
Can you hear me?
Here.
You still there?
Wally,
Chad, can you hear me?
Yep. Okay. Yeah, I can hear you all. So my question has to do with the follow-ups.
Hello.
How many times do you do the follow-ups before you cast that aside, where you either don't get an answer or you get a voicemail?
Well, so what we know from the sales industry in general is 83% of sales happen between touch 5 and 12. So at a minimum, we recommend 3 letters and 3 phone calls. Honestly, you can't make enough phone calls. Until you have actually spoken to every one of those people, there's still prospecting to be done. And the folks that really, really do well with this are the ones who are just tenacious prospectors that keep at it and keep following up until they've spoken to each one. And that's the only real way to know what's in the estate and if they need help. Probably not the answer most of us are looking for, but the only way to say that it's not a lead is to speak with them and find out that it's not a lead. So,
where did that research come from? The 83%?
I don't remember where I sourced it. It was an industry study that was done, and I don't know. It's a couple of years ago when I read it. I'll see if I probably have it bookmarked. But it's between touch 5 and 12, 83% of sales occur.
Well, and that also fits with some research that I'd come across that basically said of the people that show interest in listing or buying a property, 50% of them will take a year to finalize their decision. So that's another thing I look at is the length of follow-up. And I'm going to presume that based on that study, this is people that you've connected with or just in general?
That's just in general. That's taking a cold list. So if you take a list of just cold leads at the very top of the funnel, and track all of them through, that's of the ones that close, 83% of them are going to do it after the 5th touch.
Wow. Well, that's pretty powerful.
It can become a huge budget crunch if you start adding more mail pieces. But for most of us, we can sit down and make the phone calls or have somebody make them, and it's just a time cost. It's not really a direct, monetary cost to us. So ideally, if you can keep track of it and touch each of those people, once a month until you've spoken to every one of them, that's probably the way to get the most out of your list. It's depending on your lead count and your, just how much you want to work, is whether some of us can or can't do that.
Well, I use your CRM, which, by the way, great job, guys. That's an amazing tool to keep track of the calls. So you can plug in the follow-up date on those, which makes it real easy to go back into your system and do your follow-up. So, I think that's been a great addition to your overall program. I think there's some things in there that would help a little bit. So I sent in a few suggestions, but basically, good job on the CRM.
Thank you, Wally. By the way, I'm back. I got muted out for a minute there. I guess you guys heard me. You heard me yelling, but I couldn't hear you. So sorry about that. I think Chad did that. He didn't want me to talk so much. But thank you. We have 4 more people in the queue, guys, so we're going to definitely go over today, but we're going to get to everybody. Wally, thank you so much. It's great hearing back from you.
You're welcome.
Anything else?
That's it for now. Thanks.
All right. Thank you for participating. Phone number ending in 4550. You're up next.
Yeah, hi. This is Jim. I'm from Jim Malloy in Ventura County, California. And hi. I'm a neophyte to the probate leads, so I just got back. I started using you, and I had to stop, and then I just started again. Just did the first mailings, and I went to the courthouse yesterday to talk to a clerk. And the answers I got from her were a little different than I expected. She gave me some paperwork and said they have to fill out this 4-page form if they want to open probate, and I didn't understand a lot of stuff on it. But where I originally grew up, we had to do probate. I remember many years ago when my parents both died, we had to do probate there. But she told me that most people don't do probate here. In California, most people don't have to. And the people who opt to usually have a problem in the family with who's getting what or something like that. And I was wondering if that's, do I have this wrong? Is that most people can opt out of this, or most of these leads? In other words, should the questions, is the conversation going to be sort of geared to the problems they're having, the reason they're in probate? Should I be looking out for that? I was just assuming that everybody who died or had someone who had, deceased and left behind property would have probate, but it looks like, at least from what she said,
about 95% of all the properties nationwide go through probate. The only way I know to avoid it is to have a living trust. Now, what she might be referencing, Jim, you're in an ultra high-end market there. So most of the multi-million-dollar estates, the people are smart enough to have a living trust. The average American doesn't. And
there's a lot of middle of the road around here. Middle of the road around here is 500,000 or 600,000.
Right.
But what we find is, more people in California have a law degree than a smartphone. So most people in California have some level of an estate plan. And we find that, especially in Northern California, it's even worse. We'll have a county population of over 2 million, and there's 15 to 20 probates filed. And it's because of the concentration of wealth and the savviness they've figured out to put together an estate plan. And the only, either having an estate plan, which is usually a living trust, or having an estate that's worth in your state less than $100,000, including the real estate, are pretty much the only 2 exemptions. Now, certain things can pass through from a surviving, the deceased to the surviving spouse by contract, such as pension plans, annuities, life insurance. Those things can kind of go through without probate. But most estates are going to be one thing's for sure. The ones that are on your list are being probated. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have problems. It does mean that they didn't have a living trust, or it does mean that the overall assets are worth more than $100,000. So at least those few things about the people on your list. And the only way to really find out the rest is to have the conversations. But I highly doubt that they're all going to be riddled with problems. Most probates are pretty clean and simple because most families are cooperative, and most of the real estate doesn't have encumbrances or title messes. A lot of it's owned free and clear. So don't expect big problems just based on that one person's opinion. What we find is it's usually pretty simple business.
Okay, that's helpful. Thanks.
Thank you, Jim. And I know you had some major health issues. Congratulations on making it through and coming back. Welcome back.
Okay. Thanks, Jim.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Next up is phone number ending in 8699.
Hi, this is RJ in Northern California. I'm up in Monterey County.
Hey, RJ.
And this is my first time on the call. I just got my first leads and my first mailing done, and I think one of my questions might have been answered already in terms of the follow-up. And let me just say that I'm a certified estate planner, and to your previous caller, if there's more than $10,000 in the estate, when the death certificate hits the county clerk's office, probate automatically is initiated. So when people say that they didn't have to go to probate, they're probably saying that they don't know. And 4 or 5 years down the road, I've seen people come up and say, you know what, I didn't know I had to do a probate. So, like you said, there's a lot of lawyers in California, but not a lot of experts.
Well said.
My question is, I just got my first mailing done, and I was wondering about the sequence. And again, I think this question has been answered, but I'm going to ask it anyway. Do you recommend that we make the follow-up phone call after every mailing, or do we go through the sequence and let the mailing, the 3 mailings, sink in before we start making calls?
No, you definitely want to follow each letter with a phone call, and
okay.
you know the purpose of that is to be there at different times, because different people are going to act at different times. So on the first letter and first phone call, you get the ones that are really motivated to get something done now.
Hey, could you pick up your phone? I think you're on speakerphone and we're getting an echo.
Okay, all right.
Thank you, sir. Go ahead.
Okay, how's that?
Much better. Thank you.
Okay. Oh, yeah, I think that cleared it up. But anyways, it spreads your marketing over a 90-day period, and following each letter with a phone call just gives you, it gives you 6 touches over a quarter to catch them in different periods of that process, because some will act really quickly and some will take time. What we talked about earlier in this call is, ideally, if you can continue the phone calls even after the letters until you've spoken to every one of them, that would be the best practice.
Okay, great.
It can get really tough to manage for those with big lists.
Yeah. Well, okay, yeah, my list is not that big yet, but I'm keeping my fingers crossed. My other question is, I got my first batch of leads, and I did a little research on the leads, and what I found is that some of my leads, I guess you guys are so good that you get the leads before they go to court and get appointed as personal representative. Some of my leads are still waiting to go to court to get approved as the personal representative.
Right.
Is it a given that they're going to get that designation, or am I making my phone calls prematurely, or?
It's not a given. So in that scenario, what you're uncovering is somebody has died intestate, which means the court has, there wasn't a will that designated a personal representative or an executor. So what happens is you have to have the initial probate hearing to designate the the personal representative. In the case that there's not a family member, then in that same hearing they'll appoint. In your state, it's called a fiduciary. In others, it's sometimes called an administrator. So what you're finding there is those are the ones that didn't have a will, which is a very large percentage of Americans don't have wills. About 45% of deaths occur intestate. So you're getting those. But it just because somebody doesn't have a will doesn't mean that they didn't have assets. They just weren't great planners.
Okay. And then my last question, and again, when you speak of the fiduciary, and I guess I'm going to lump this question in with the attorneys trustees that are appointed by the courts or whatever. Does it make any difference in the kind of contact you make if you have to speak with the attorney or the court-appointed trustee? Same approach, or how is that different from a family member?
Well, it's a much less emotional conversation. It's more of a B2B call, right? So they have a duty to uphold, and you have a business that helps them support that. So it's not as emotional. It can actually be an easier phone call and an easier transaction once they understand. And you want to highlight the points of how does your business provide value to their business and their client, and how do you protect their client's best interest without being babysat. And once they understand that, they tend to latch on to you. And we have folks who are very well networked with the fiduciaries that get basically spoon-fed referrals. So the state appoints the fiduciary calls the agent lists the house. And it's literally that easy because it's just business for everybody involved. Where when you're working with a family, it requires empathy and working around emotions and different personality types and multiple decision makers. So it's just an easier transaction.
Wow, thanks a lot, man. That is great information. I'm glad to be aboard. Appreciate it.
We're glad to have you. When you get successful, keep coming back to the calls. Thank you so much for sharing. We have two more people, guys, in the queue, so we're going to go another 5 or 10 minutes, however long it takes. Great participation today, guys. Thank you to everyone. Next up is phone number ending in 4577. You're up.
Hi, my name is Brian. I'm in Northeast Florida, first-time caller, long-time listener, one of those kind of things. But I just wanted to talk about the letters or ask about the letters from my understanding of how the program is set up, because I haven't started mailing. I've only been doing calls and following up that way. And it says that there's an initial letter that goes out, and then is there different letters that you send out on month 2 and month 3 and month 4? Or how does that aspect kind of work out for everyone?
It's really at your discretion. I mean, some of us just send the same letter 3 times. Some people customize each touch. I will say that I've tested both ways and gotten about the same result. So the key is, it's more about repetition and being there at the right time than it is having a unique copy on each touch.
Okay, that helps. Okay, cool. I was just curious about that part on the mail. I brought this up to my broker, and he was the one that asked. He goes, if they're being shared, does everyone get the same letter? Wouldn't it be weird if someone received the same letter 3 times? I was like,
well,
I didn't think about that.
We pride ourselves on support, and part of that is the quality control that comes from our mailing service. So with Mailbox Motivator, believe it or not, there's a human looking at, proofreading, and printing each and every letter. And we make sure that we're not sending the same mail for any 2 subscribers in a market. So, if someone's using the probate options letter and they happen to have somebody else in your market and you choose that letter, you're going to get a phone call and say, hey, let's rewrite this. Let's make this you and customize it, or let's choose a different letter and customize it.
Oh, excellent. That's fantastic. Okay. All right. Well, I appreciate that. That was all I had for you guys. Thank you very much.
Welcome aboard. We've had very little representation up in your neck of the woods, so we want to hear your success stories in the future. Well, thanks for being part of the call and being part of the system. And we have our last caller for the week, guys. So we're going a little overtime today, but it's been a great call. Last up today is phone number ending in 5172. You're up.
Hey, how are you? It's Jim Cassan from New York. How are you guys?
Great, Jim. Excellent. Thank you.
Great. You know what? I had a little setback myself health-wise, but I'm just getting started again. And I got some serious interest from a few attorneys. I was just going to ask you, what do you guys find more effective, using the letters that you guys provide, or the letters I can devise for both the executor and the attorney? That's the first question.
Well, we have spent personally kind of proofing this out, tens of thousands of dollars in mail that doesn't work, and you guys will never see those letters. The ones that you see have produced millions of dollars in commission for hundreds of agents across the country. So you can reinvent the wheel, and you can test your own letters, but the ones that are there work, and they've worked in all market types across the entire country.
Okay, great. I'm probably gonna do that type of mailing. I'll call you guys tomorrow. The second question is, in terms of success rate and quickness, what do you recommend where you would see a quicker return if you're dealing with the executives who are emotional, or just deal with the attorneys? In other words, when you send out letters and calls, which one is more effective and which one is quicker? I'm being from New York City, people are a little tougher. Even though I've been doing this 30 years, so I'm pretty good with sellers to begin with. But I wanted some input from your side, because I'm getting close to getting some attorney leads. I haven't really been speaking to any executives yet.
Well, the shortest cash conversion cycle is going to be going direct to the executors, because they are the decision makers, and it just takes, it's one less chain and one less link in the communication chain. So they're typically easier to speak with. Attorneys are, they usually have a guardian of billable hours that they call the front desk person or the receptionist, and it's harder to get through to them than it is to an executor. And you get through.
Yeah, I go around them. Because I do a lot of, I'm a broker owner, so I train my guys. But I go, like you guys mentioned in the prior seminar, I'll do like a cold called walk-in on an attorney.
Perfect. That's the most effective. But still, I would continue doing the cold call walk-ins. That's hands down the best method for meeting the attorneys. But I would also be calling each personal representative. And you're going to get overlap there. You're going to go, oh, yeah, I actually know your attorney. Or, oh, yeah, I've already met with your client. And that just reinforces your, kind of your position as the expert, because you know the person who's in probate or, managing probate and the attorney that they're assigned to.
Right. The only reason I didn't pursue that channel, I had, like the last month or two, I'm healthy now, but I had a health setback. But I'm just getting started again this month. So I figured like a lot of these, I'm going under the assumption a lot of these executives, these deals, maybe, somebody has already jumped in. So I just should still pursue those leads, even though they're like back in November, December. I got to update my leads, to go up to the executives.
A lot of folks have, quote, old leads for different reasons. Mostly it's because of procrastination, not health problems. Right. And I'm glad to hear you pulled through your problem. I'll give you a story of encouragement. It's one of our subscribers had signed up for the county in Idaho, and because she couldn't get leads immediately, we were waiting on the leads to come for that month. She bought 3 months historical leads. So the oldest one was, 90 days from the probate filing, which was like 5 months from the actual death. In 175 letters, she listed 5 houses and didn't pick up the phone. And she came on this call and told the story. And Jim asked her, well, that's great. That's amazing. Have you ever done that before? She had never listed a house. She'd had her license for 18 days. And mailed a historical list and listed 5 out of 175 without making a phone call. The next week, she made one out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was the probate options letter was the letter she was using.
Okay.
And this is a complete rookie agent, never listed a house, and knocked down. She dropped a voicemail the next week and knocked out 2 more. So she did $70,000 in GCI in 7 days, and as a brand new agent. So those historical leads, they can sometimes be even more valuable than your current list. So
I know.
Don't shy away from it.
I used to back in the 90s. I was very effective in going after for sale by owners, because after 30 days people give up, and I used to pick up a ton of listings. Usually after 30 days you have less resistance from the sellers. It's kind of funny you mention that.
Yeah, the good news, we had an agent in Colorado, same thing, hyper-competitive market, and and he bought a list. I think it was 6. He bought the 6 to 9 month old list, and the bad news with them, a significant percentage of them are sold, but the good news is nobody else is calling them, so you got no competition, and the ones that aren't sold are really ready to do something. So it's a lower percentage, but it's a higher motivation. So it's a mixed bag. And one last thought I wanted to share with you real quick, if you're working the attorneys, about a month ago we had an agent come on that shared something with us. He was looking down his attorney list and noticed there was an attorney that was consistently doing 5 or 6 probates a month, and he stopped by the office, he mailed letters, he couldn't get through to him, and he really wanted to meet with this guy, so he called the office and said, what does Attorney Johnson charge for a billable hour? And the girl said $200. He said, here's my credit card. I want to schedule an hour to talk to him. And he went in the office, sat down, presented to the guy, and the attorney was so blown away he's been getting a deal a week ever since. Now, obviously, we don't suggest that on every attorney, but boy, that's doing something that nobody else would do, and do what it takes.
That's creative. That's very creative. I like that. I would do that.
I think we should suggest that.
Yeah, it'd probably be a good return on your investment. Any attorney that's doing 5 or more per month, go spend a couple $100 and book an appointment with them. If you're paying for their time, they can't say no. So
right, I teach the real estate class in New York, so I get a lot of leads from students, the salespersons and brokers I teach, but I could also walk into these attorneys and give them closings. Like I have a little bait for them. You follow me? I wouldn't even come in empty-handed. I can give. It could be a reciprocal relationship where I can give them some business. That's if they do real estate closings. You follow what I'm saying?
Yeah. No, that's great. That's great. Well, thank you so much. Anything else we can help you with today?
The last question was the quality of the letters. I said your letters work. So I guess who do I have? Just go online, or who do I have to speak to at the office? Just to follow with that.
Send an email to support@alltheleads.com, and Mark, his name is, or you can send it to Mark, MARC @alltheleads.com, and he'll get right back to you with help with the letters.
And first, before you do that, when you're logged into your subscriber portal on the left, you can click on Mailbox Motivator.
Yeah, I had seen that. I didn't use that. Yeah.
There's at the top. It says there's a button for watch Mailbox Motivator demo, and that's like a 6-minute video that I made that'll kind of walk you through exactly how to use the online editor, how to choose your letter, set up your envelope. So the system we tried to make it as simple as possible. So rather than bouncing emails back and forth, check out that first. Just take 6 minutes and kind of look at how it's built. And if you have trouble, you can always reach out and Mark can help you do it. But it's pretty simple.
Great. And the last question, I'm sorry, the last question I had for you is, how do you determine the volume of estates that an attorney does? Do you have to go to the clerk's office? Like somebody had a question about that, like out of New York. How would you know? You have one attorney does a lot of probate.
So the simplest way is log into this customer or the subscriber portal. In the top left, click on My Probate Leads. Click on the list that you want to find this out for. And in the top center, you'll see Export. And you can export it to a CSV file. Click Export All to CSV. And then you can, if you're proficient in Microsoft Excel, the easiest way is to do an auto filter, an auto sort, and then sort the attorney column by name. And then it'll group them all together.
Yeah, that sounds like a lot. That sounds like a lot. Can I speak to somebody manually on this tomorrow, maybe? Somebody over the phone, because it's who should I speak to on that?
Same person. Yeah, our busiest person is support at alltheleads.com, because everybody reads that, and the best person to help you will call you right back.
Oh, right. Okay, export CVC. You said CVC.
But do you have an office assistant or like an admin in your office?
Yeah, I do. Yes, I have a full time.
Just have them log in. It's a CSV is just a simple Excel sheet. Like all that, it sounds complicated, I know, but what I just told you is about 15 seconds worth of work, and in all reality.
Oh, okay.
If your admin is proficient with Excel, she'll have it to you in 30 seconds.
Right, and you can use your software. You're telling me that you can use your software on on your site to determine the number of probates an attorney does, right? That's what you're telling me.
Well, you export the spreadsheet out so you can sort it any way you want to. So, and you can have her listen to this recorded call if you want, or we can email it to you. But just go to my probate page.
Can you email me this conversation, or that'd be great. You know, this is recorded, right?
Yep. And Chad, that'd be a good way to end the call today. Tell everybody where they can find, if they want to join. We've got a tremendous turnout. If you want to join the Facebook group, where to go, and if you want to listen to any of the previous calls, where to go.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Guys, this call is also tied to a Facebook community that we're pretty proud of. It's called All the Leads Mastermind. So if you're not a part of that, you can go to the search bar in the top of Facebook, type in All the Leads Mastermind, and request access. It is a closed group. So we do screen the people that come in. In there, you'll find, if you're not a subscriber, you can find all these calls archived all the way back to number 1. If you are a subscriber, the best way to listen to our role play calls and mastermind calls is in your subscriber portal on the left. Click on conference calls, and then click the blue button that says conference call archive, and it sorts them by month. So you can start with March and go all the way back, 2 years to from where we started. And there are 4 mastermind calls each month and 1 role play call.
Okay.
Excellent. Guys, I think this was, the call was exactly an hour. I think it was our longest call, and I would have to say it was probably our best for the volume of participation, for the variety of topics. I really appreciate
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. We really appreciate it. I thank the well over 100 people that showed up, and I particularly thank all the people that were willing to, to kind of stick their neck out and participate. And I usually end these calls by taking one thing, but today was such a good call, I'd say take 1 or 2 or 3 ideas you heard on today's call. Go out and put it into practice and come back next Thursday and share your results with the group. Thank you so much, guys. Make it a great week. We will talk to you same time next Thursday. Take care.